Hi everyone, I'm Saulo Medeiros, CMO at New Patel Excel. I work with New more than 5 years now. Actually, I'm from Brazil and I received this holy mission to present our last session. Thank you all for being here. 2 days, very intense, a lot of content, a lot of things to know. If you have any problems or support, just call or email or chat with our team. And now the long-awaited moment, the site breakdown and advices direct from Neil Patel. You can give him a big welcome with some kind of reaction on the chat. So come on, Neil, join us.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, of course, and everyone. Thank you all for coming here. Many of you guys don't know Saulo, but one of the most creative marketers that I know. He's really good at what he does. And as Saulo mentioned, we're going to be doing a breakdown of multiple sites. And if we have time, we'll get into some Q&A. And yeah, can you guys see my screen? Can you see it, Saulo?
Oh, please share it. We have a team behind it. Igor, you can share the screen.
There you go. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can. We have it.
Looks good, full screen?
Yeah, full screen. Go ahead, Neil.
Awesome. So I'm going to be breaking down some websites. Now, some of you guys submitted some URLs. We randomly selected some URLs, and I'll go through them in the presentation. And I'm also going to give you guys feedback on stuff, no matter if your website was selected or not. That'll just help you guys succeed. So first, I want to break down the concepts behind the website breakdown. And in previous summits, when we did website breakdowns, we just loaded up the screen and we just shared everything that was wrong. But I wanted to do something a little bit different this time, where we break down the concepts, the methodology, how we do it, so you can also break down your website as well. We put them into 5 main buckets: content, search intent, that's things like your content length, internal linking, your off page, like are you using natural links? Do you have toxic links? Do you have a lot of backlinks or very little? On page, are you using things like schema markup, good code like H1 headings and all that stuff, alt tags, technical stuff like site speed, SSL, robots, crawlability, and then you have mobile. Is your site mobile friendly? Does it load fast? Are you using advanced mobile pages, stuff like that? Now, typically when we're evaluating these metrics, we score them from 0 to 10. 10 is better. Here's an example of what it could look like. You could have a 5 in some categories, or a 2, or a 1, or a 9, or even a 10. And the goal is to try to get to 10 in each and every single category. But as you're doing SEO with your own website, what you may realize is it's hard to get to 10 everywhere, and it's hard to fix everything at once. So a lot of times what I tell people is it's okay if you don't fix everything at once. Fixing something's better than not fixing anything. Start with the stuff that has the lowest scores, that's not doing as well, and then eventually try to get that up higher and higher. So let's first start off with the content breakdown. 93% of online experiences start with a search. If you don't understand what people are searching for, yeah, you may end up getting search traffic, but will that search traffic even convert to revenue? Probably not. So you want to go after those keywords that have that transactional intent. For example, how to get rid of razor bumps. Now, you can talk about how to get rid of razor bumps, and you can talk about your solution at the same time when it comes to getting rid of razor bumps. And when you do that, someone will look through the article and they also are likely to buy as well. And you also want to make your customers enter your product funnel as quick as possible so that there is no issues, because the last thing you want is it to take weeks, if not months, for them to buy. It's just no one has the time for that. One of the sites we looked at was yakwax.com, and here's an example of one of their blogs. And one of their keywords were surf accessories for winter. And this keyword has roughly 1,300 monthly searches. I put a little disclaimer mark here, yellow. It's not ideal. The more searches, the better, but small keywords that have high intent aren't bad either. And there could be, if they offer surf accessories, that could they do offer surf products, but that could be another category with more keywords. So going after keywords that are small is fine, but you want to go after big and small keywords, not just small. They are going after bigger keywords as well, but this is an example of a smaller keyword. There's nothing wrong with that. If it's too small and it only gets like 10, 20, even 50 searches a month or 100 searches a month, you're typically wasting your time unless you're in a category where that one person could be worth $1 million or something like that. Just because the amount of searches a keyword has doesn't mean that's how many visitors you're going to get. Now, the text on this page, it's not 2,000 words, and you don't have to create 2,000 words. That's a big misconception. The reason I put 2,000 words there is there's a lot of articles on the web that say if you want to rank number 1 or on page 1, you need 2,300 words. That's not necessarily the case. If you wanted to search for how to tie a tie, you're not really looking for an article that has 2,000 words. You're looking for some images, mainly, maybe even a video. But when we looked here, they have 477, and this is one of those pages that could have more. I wouldn't say it needs 2,000, but they could easily get it to 750 or 1,000 without stuffing and adding value. Keyword density is fine. They mentioned the keyword. You don't need a keyword density that's 3%, 2%, even 1%. I look at that as you don't want to be stuffing and having 1 or 2% because then it becomes really hard to read. If it's natural, that's fine. But most people, when they have a keyword density of 2 to 3%, it just means they're stuffing the keyword and it doesn't sound great when you read the content. As for the internal links, they have a good amount of internal links. External links, I would consider adding some. It's not required. That's why there's not a red X, but I would add some external links wherever you can. And if it doesn't make sense because you're selling a product, that's fine. But this is just for some of you guys to consider because you may not have an e-commerce page. And for e-commerce, I get it. In most cases, you're not going to add the external links. But for a lot of websites, you would want to consider that. And if you also look at their blog, the amount of times that they're blogging, how frequent, it's great. Look at the dates. And when you look at the dates, they're blogging really, really frequently. So that's really good news. Frequency, more is better. And I recommend that you publish 3 to 4 blog posts per weekday or per week. If you can do 3 to 4 per weekday, even better. And if you look at my goal is generally to get 80 plus pieces of content a month, eventually over 100. That's why I have the 3 to 4 goal per weekday. With you guys, it should be at least per week. My monthly publishing goal is, I'm easily doing right now 70 pieces of content. My team is doing a lot of revisions and rewrites, so I don't have to do all the writing. So it's not too bad. Or sometimes I can just record in the phone and they'll write and deal with the rest. But the more you write, assuming the content quality is good, the better off you're going to be. This just gives you an idea of what I'm posting on a monthly basis, so it can give you guys some goals. Now let's dive into OnPage Breakdown. So here's WriteRope.com. Here's one of their products. One of the things, if you look at their source code, they aren't doing a good use with their headings. And the reason I say that is there's multiple H1 tags on the page. I would try to limit it to 1 H1 tag per page. Think of it like as a book title. With a book, there's only one title. That's your H1. And then there's chapters. You can have multiple H2s, and then subsections within a chapter, they can be H3s. And then the other thing I would also consider is if they want more juice in their title, if they're selling ropes, they would want to consider using the word rope in the title, and it'll help as well, or in the H1 heading, which they're not really using right here.
Hey, New, a quick tip about that. This one.
Yeah.
You are showing me that, and we realized that the H1s was because of the title, but at some point in the code, when you transform the page for to be accessible on mobile phones, they're using another H1 for a different element. So it's not the same element. That's why it's duplicated. So this is an easy fix, actually, right?
It is, because you can just have the same website and just make it responsive, and it makes everything simpler.
Got it.
And if you look at the UX, the main image is cutting off some of the text. So I would fix that. If you look at their synthetic fiber pro manila, and then it's supposed to say rope, but the word rope is cut off. The other thing that I noticed is with one of their subheadings, they just bold, using strong or bold, whatever you want to end up calling it, the word "what is pro Manila" instead of using a heading right there, and a heading will give them a little bit more weight. And here's another one. I don't know how to say this domain. I'm going to butcher it. Morstetoda or something like that, and I do apologize. Now, when we're looking at this site, the big thing I notice is the images, they're not optimized. You want to optimize the size and compress them and still have them good size. Like this is tiny. You want to ideally make the images bigger. Because like there's left and right space that's empty. You could have stretched it out left and right and not cropped it as much. We find that the bigger images rank better and get more traffic. You also want to compress the file size, and you also want to have a unique name. So with this one, if you look at the file name, it's just a random file name like 301-FD2, and it just keeps going .jpeg. So I would have had this as like coffee with pastries and flour in bed. And I'm assuming it's in bed because it's in a little tray. You got a white sheet in the background. So I'm going to guess that it's in bed. And being more descriptive like that is going to have you do a lot better with image search traffic in the long run. And if you're trying to think about, all right, what you need to do if you want like a mini checklist for your on page, here's some of the things that we do at the neilpatel.com website. Keywords must appear in the title. 80% of the people read the title. And they say only 2 out of 10 or 20% will click through and read the rest of the article. We prefer the keyword to be the first word in the title, if possible. It doesn't always work that way. We want the keyword to appear in the first paragraph. That's helped us a lot. We want keywords or related keywords that must appear within at least 40% of the headers. That's just our rough internal rule. Internal subtitles should be formatted in H2. We don't use H1s for that. We use H3 if needed, if they're a subheading underneath the H2. The main keyword that we are going after, we try to have it in the text at least a handful of times, hence the word 5 or handful. We don't try to get too crazy. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. We don't assess about it, but it just gives you a general rule of thumb. Keyword must be in the meta description. And you want to use that not just to have keywords, but also to get clicks when people are searching. And you want to keep your URL short and to the point. Short URLs rank better. Ideally a few words only in the URL. When your URLs are too long, let's say my URL is on iPhone. So it'd be neilpatel.com/iPhone. If that'll rank well for potentially iPhone, it could potentially rank well for how to use an iPhone. It could potentially rank well for iPhone mini. But then if my URL was neilpatel.com/iPhone-mini-11, people would be like, okay, if someone's searching iPhone, well, that Neil Patel article is not relevant because it's only relevant if they're searching for iPhone mini model 11. And the more specific you get, what it does is when people type in broad terms, it makes it harder to rank. You do rank for the more niche terms, but you can do that anyways by having broad URLs. And I recommend only using one category when you're publishing blog posts. Your images, the file name must contain keywords and what the image is about. Same with your alt tag. And you want to remove links from the images when they're only media files, because people click and they go to a page with the image and it doesn't provide any value. I also recommend they add video. It helps people keep people on your site longer. Break up your lines, try not to have more than 8 to 12 words per, not paragraph, it should be sentence there, and not have more than 4 or 5 lines, maybe 6 max per paragraph. All headers should be bolded. And for every 1,000 words, just a general rule of thumb is we try to do internal linking 5 to 15 times. There's no exact rule, but the reason is you should be citing your sources, backing up your content, cross-linking. Even if you have a brand new blog, your new post may not have as many internal links, but as you've published 100 posts, you can go back to your older ones and cross-link to the newer posts as well. And you want to ensure the links open in new windows. Sometimes I make a mistake on that, but that's what people prefer. Your text should have at least 5 internal links if possible, 2 in the conclusion, if you're struggling to fit them in. And I also recommend that you check for typos and grammar errors and add links, to new posts, as I mentioned. And you want to make sure just your URLs get indexed and you just do all this stuff. If you do it, you'll be better off. And if you're struggling, you can always use the Ubersuggest site audit as well. Now, as for the next section, which is off-page, 82% of consumers look for negative comments and opinions before buying. Now, I want you to think about this. If you're unfamiliar with the brand, would you be willing to buy a product based on reviews? And the data says people are. I just recorded a course for Shopify. I wish I had the stat in front of me. It's a large percentage. It's like something like 40 or 60+% or something like that are willing to buy products from brands they're not familiar with if the reviews look good. So just make sure you focus on reviews. And if you can't necessarily just get tons of reviews, think about links as well. The more people linking to you, that's social proof. That's a form of a review. If other sites like Wall Street Journal or Huffington Post or Entrepreneur mentioning you, it's better than not having anything as well. And when you're looking through this, like I look at this site, it's agreeing that their links are climbing over time, and they'll go up and down, and it's never perfect because some of the backlink tools we use is Moz's API, so the domain authority and everything is pulled from Moz and Ubersuggest. So you can save money. You don't have to pay for a Moz account. You can just use a backlinks report for free in there. And as long as it's going up healthy over time, you're fine. You're going to naturally have new and lost links because sites delete, they add, come online, all that kind of stuff, which changes your numbers, but you want to just see nice steady growth. What is more alarming, and this is the site Effluences, when you just have quick growth all of a sudden, and this is the referring domains, this isn't total backlink count, but the referring domain count just all of a sudden started jumping up. And I would just double check on that because there's nothing wrong with that if it's natural, but if you're buying or doing anything shady, and I'm not saying this site is, I didn't double check to see if they're buying or anything. I'm going to assume they're not. But you just want to make sure slow and steady. That's really what wins the race when it comes to marketing. So technical breakdown.
Just one thing about links, Neil.
Yeah.
I think it's useful for us to mention. What happens when Google realizes you are losing links fast?
Yeah, then they think something's wrong with your website. People don't like it. You're losing authority, and typically you rank lower.
And so that's why we need to keep tracking those, like in a weekly basis, maybe, right?
Yep. Yeah, I keep track. And as you can see on the bottom graph, Ubersuggest will show you all your new and lost links.
Yeah. Perfect.
So now let's dive into the technical breakdown. So here's three-way plumbing. They have an SSL certificate. That's great. Almost all sites do these days. So that's a good thing. And if you're unsure on the technical side, you can just put in your URL into Ubersuggest. There's a site audit report on the left-hand navigation. Put in your URL. It'll take anywhere from a few minutes to like 30 minutes, depending on how big your site is to crawl it. And it'll tell you what you're doing good, bad, what needs to be fixed. So you don't need to really worry because it'll just break it all down, and it'll even tell you, like, if you hover over what is this and how do I fix it, it tells you what it is and how do you fix it. So that model's worked out well, and that can just give you a kickstart if you don't have too much technical skills. So don't worry too much there. And now with the mobile breakdown, if you want sales, you got to leverage mobile devices. Mobile has a ton of traffic. So make sure that you are fixing everything for mobile devices, because it can end up driving you a lot of sales or miss you out on a lot of revenue. And this site here, RE Cove, what they do well is their site loads super fast on mobile. It's good for them, right? That's super important. And the Ubersuggest site audit will tell you all of this. And it looks at a lot of the things part of the core vitals update. So you just want to make sure you're in the green. If you're not in the green, any check mark that's yellow or red, just click over the question mark. It tells you what it is and how to fix it. So there's some extra stuff that I wanted to cover, which is conversion optimization. This is a site for all you guys to check out. This is Skincare by Elena. If you look at this site back in 2009, that was whatever. But then they adjusted. They got their local listing. They eventually started adding things like a quiz and videos, which really helped boost their conversions. They added a phone number, which helps build trust. They added reviews on the left side that you can see. Exit pop-up to collect more people who are leaving. They're continually fine-tuning, testing different images to seeing what is working. And just in general, always keep testing and adapting. And the other thing that I would recommend doing is, especially if you ever want to get into e-com, even if you don't, but check out their blog. They've done a really good job on building content that people want to link to. That's just really helped boost their revenue and sales. And it's also allowed them to get amazing reviews because they care about their customers and their products, which has helped with the conversions as well. So that's it. And let's see if we can answer one or two questions. Salo?
Of course. So there is a question here. People are asking about the website's structure based on headings. How you should properly using headings to like a blog post, for example, and let's say e-commerce. What is the difference?
Yeah, so with site structure, just think about what's usable for people and what makes the most sense from a navigational perspective. Don't obsess too much about site structure from the aspect of what heading should I use, and underneath the heading, what other pages I should link to. Think about usability first, because the way Google's moving and shifting, especially if you think about the update that they're going to release soon about the page experience algorithm update, it's about user experience. So I don't want to tell you this is how you should use headings for a user experience standpoint or internal link. Of course, link when it makes sense, but think about the user experience first, and you should adapt around that, because I bet you Google's going to eventually roll that out to desktop as well.
Amazing. So Neil, if you have time, I will send to you a link on your Skype, and if you can load it up for us and share a screen. This is a local site, and as you know, a prompt service. It's when you are in trouble, you want to fix this stuff right away, right? And this site is like totally optimized, and they have like everything they need to convert people right away. And can you show us like something that pops to you and to aware people on how can them convert more on their sites?
Sure. So one thing that I like is the form field. This is great. One thing that I would do is the colors are really bright here. I would consider maybe making the colors not as colorful here, but more bright here so it stands out. I think that can boost your conversions. I would also test having the form field on the left versus the right. We tested that with neilpatel.com/consulting recently. And you can see my screen, right, Sala?
Yeah.
We recently tested here. We moved it to the left, and we got a 54% increase in conversions. Literally, it was the same copy. Form field was on the right. We just changed it to the left, 54% increase. And as you can see, my form field stands out because I use a lot of white color. When you're using a lot of color, it's hard to know where your eyes are going to. But overall, the site does great, good reviews. I like how they do the internal linkings. It all makes sense under plumbing, drains, sewers, about, financing options, contact us. I like how it has a scrolling top bar with their phone number and request a quote or request service. And then they have appointments, guarantee, messaging. Look, overall 4.9 out of 5 stars. Overall rating of 1,050. First place reviews. That's awesome. So you look at that. Great blog content. How to get rid of smell in my bathroom. Just overall. It's good. The one thing I would do is probably make the blog content much more detailed. Cut up the paragraphs a little bit more. Have easy steps, because this stuff is hard to skim. And you can be like, here's how to do it in a natural way. Here's how to do it in a chemical way, right? But overall, I like the site.
Great. And just the last one, okay, guys? I shot to you another link, and this is the sales page for one of their products. And I think this page to me stand out from the majority of the e-commerce. And I just look at the when we're doing the research, they're not in the first position for a lot of Google search on organic, for example. But
what's the URL? Right rope.
Yeah, right rope. Yeah, rightrope.com. You can go through this.
And then click on product.
Yeah, go ahead and let's say any rope there.
Yeah. So the question here is, what are they doing good, or what can they improve, or both, or?
Both.
So I like how they have the reviews here. Select the product option below to see pricing. I think that's good and clear. Diameter. And then, you know, if they put 100 feet, 6% off, 1,000 feet. I like how they have the 12%. Add to cart. That's good. The video here, just make sure you remove the watch on YouTube. You want to keep them on your site when they're on your site. I like how you have the discount broken down here. I would have another call to action with me, like where they can purchase, and just add that option again here. So, you know, where they can just purchase, or they can be like buy buttons, and it just takes them to the top and it pre-selects, you know, based on what they select here. I like the highlights. The reviews section though, the one thing I would change is consider how Amazon makes reviews really simple and it's just easy to read and it's just down. When you do reviews like all scattered like this, your eyes are going everywhere versus it just being a list of reviews, which just makes it easier. And then shipping, this is a long paragraph. I would figure out how to make this shorter and just break it down really quickly, because you can put bullets in there like guarantee your product ship the same day if your orders are placed before 3 p.m. EST. But you can literally bullet them out versus doing a paragraph, because most people aren't going to read the paragraph. I like the specifications. Also have the buy button where they go back up. I like the, you know, customers also liked. That's great. But yeah, overall, I like the text on the page, and the amount of text that you use, I think, is great too.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, guys, thank you, everyone. This session will be recorded. It's still being recorded and be on the members area. We'll also provide you the slides. And that's it. Neil, final words?
Thank you guys for coming to the summit. Really appreciate it. If you're going to do one thing in the summit, just take any one of the tactics you learned, whether it's from me or the other speakers, and just implement one thing in your business. You won't go wrong. And if you just do that once a month for a year, you'll be shocked on the results that you'll achieve in a good way.
Yes. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everyone.